Hi, my name is Megan Erickson and I am a nutrition field specialist with SDSU Extension. Today you're here again in my kitchen and we are going to be talking about what equipment you may need if you are thinking about starting to can, or if you are already canning, what equipment that you should have in your kitchen. One of the first things and common things when you think of canned foods is jars. And jars come in many different sizes. And I have a bunch over here that I'm going to talk about, but this is the half-pint jar, and typically jams and jellies are canned in half-pint jars. We have a pint jar. A lot of common, like your peaches, tomatoes, salsas, pickles, a lot of those kinds of foods are canned in your pint jars. And then you have a bigger jar, which is a quart-sized jar. So depending on what kind of recipe that you are following, making sure that it's evidence-based, you just want to check to make sure that you are following the directions on your recipe, what size jar, and how long to process according to the size of the jar. Some jars that I don't have here in my kitchen are maybe some of those smaller jars that are 4 ounces, typically used for your jams and jellies. Also, on the other side of things, the very large jars, half-gallon jars, but those are only to be used when canning very acidic juices. Jars can have a regular mouth or a wide mouth, and I have both options here with me in my kitchen. So as you can tell, here I have the wide mouth, and here I just have a regular mouth. Now, wide mouth jars make it easier for packing and removing food a lot easier. Other jars, such as mayonnaise jars or commercial jars, they can be used, but you may expect more failures. These jars, you want to make sure that you're using with a 2-piece lid, so a lid and a ring, as well as can only be used when you are using a boiling water bath canner. Now, if you're first starting to can, your costs may be a little bit more initially, but the great thing is with canning, your jars can be reused. So year after year, when you're getting ready to can, just take them out and check if there's any cracks, any nicks, to make sure that they don't break in the high temperatures when you're canning, and that way you'll be able to reuse them year after year. Now, lids, on the other hand, you have to use a new one every time you can. And lids fit very nicely on top of your jar. Let's talk lids. You will see on the back side of the lid a rubber ring around the edge. This just helps create a vacuum seal on our jars. It also gets soft enough during processing where air can escape out of the jar. Now, once the lid is placed on our jar, the ring is tightened over the top to hold the lid in place. Some other handy tools to have in your kitchen is a funnel. This just fits in your jar to help the jar stay clean when you're spooning the food into your jar. Another great tool is a headspace tool. This measures around your jar to ensure that there's enough headspace. And your headspace tool is graduated, and you run that along your jar to ensure that there's appropriate headspace on your jar. And another great thing about this tool is you flip it over and it's an air bubble remover. So you just wipe it around the jar, inside of the jar, to remove any air bubbles. You can also, if you don't have this tool, you can use a rubber spatula. Avoid using a knife because you don't want to nick the inside of the jar to create any cracks. And the last tool that I would recommend is a jar lifter. These are great in lowering your jars in and out of your water to make sure that we're not burning ourselves with the boiling water. When you are putting these in and out of your jar or out of your canner, you want to make sure that you're lifting them straight up. You don't want to tip them. You don't use nice and straight up to ensure that you have a nice seal and that any of your food is not spilling out. So you want to make sure that that seal is nice and clean. Research is constantly evolving, so we want to make sure that you are staying up to date on the most recent research. So please check in with your extension field specialist or visit the National Center for Home Food Preservation. Thank you for joining me here in my kitchen. I hope you learned something new about equipment needed to can safely. Happy canning!